First, a grandma on Maryland's Eastern Shore insists she didn't do it. She's accused of shaking a 9-month-old baby to death at her daycare. It was a case that raised questions about shaken baby syndrome, a diagnosis that has sent hundreds of parents and daycare workers to prison for murder.
But tonight, that grandma is going back to prison. Bruce LeShand is live at the courthouse in Rockville to tell us more. This was an awful situation, Bruce.
Awful story, intriguing story, but intriguing science, really. But Gail Dobson is that grandma, and she has been convicted and sentenced to prison for a second time tonight after jurors rejected her lawyer's argument that little Trevor Ulrich might have died from an old injury or natural causes instead of being shaken by her to death.
He was a healthy, happy baby before.
Kelly Ulrich still remembers how her toddler Trevor looked the night before she dropped him off at daycare in the tiny Eastern Shore town of Trapp.
He was smiling, happy, chubby cheeks, bright blue eyes.
She talked to us via Skype after a jury convicted his daycare provider a second time in his murder.
She was Trevor's monster that day. Like when I think of the force that she had to use to inflict the injuries to his head and brain, and to my son, she was a monster, absolutely.
Gail Dobson had won a second trial after her first 2009 conviction. A series of stories in the Washington Post raised questions about the forensic theory prosecutors used to send her to prison. And it pointed to several parents whose murder convictions have been overturned. Some doctors suggest accidents and underlying diseases can cause the same kind of bleeding and brain swelling used to diagnose abusive head trauma. The Post interviewed Dobson.
They knew that I was not a murderer. I've told my family if I have to go back, I go back. I'm not going to say that I killed somebody when I know that I did not do it.
But prosecutor John McCarthy says in this case and others, the doctors questioning the evidence of shaken baby syndrome are just not credible.
Some of the experts that have been quoted by some sources in the media are just not reliable experts, and when they get to court, they get excluded because it is junk science.
It took the jury just hours to reach the same conclusion.
And my son's in a grave, so he's not here. He should be 8 years old and in second grade, so she did do this.
Now, Gail Dobson has already spent 4 years in prison. Now she will be going back for at least or about 16 more. Live in Rockville, Bruce LeShand, WUSA 9.
Boy, just awful to hear those details, Bruce. The Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office prosecuted the case because some of Dobson's relatives are in law enforcement and are friends with the Talbot County State's Attorney. Montgomery County has convinced judges 3 times now to exclude junk science that questions the legitimacy of shaken baby syndrome.